So main advice would be listen to your own body and experiment. I think it's also being open-minded and experimenting, and sometimes the opposite of what you believed you needed to do is true.
I'm so grateful. We're so honoured, blessed that we can eat.
You just touched the microphone.
Did I touch? Oh shit. We're
so blessed.
Yeah, we are so spoiled. We can eat anything and everything whenever we want.
We
and
should be more thankful.
we have no idea what it is. Okay, Caroline. So we're continuing with now you telling me, the world. What do you do for dinner? What do you do for dinner then?
Truth or dare? What's dare?
Tell me the truth.
All right, I'll tell you the truth. I don't dare. It did do me a lot of good. I loved it. I always had my goûter. So I kept that when I was returning to Germany.
And that works well for you?
Totally. Okay. Yeah. If I don't have my goûter, you don't want to meet me.
Okay.
Where's my sugar?
Did you not say dinner yet?
No.
You just said about your
I told you about your snack. So let me tell you about dinner now. Hi everyone, this is Caroline.
Hello, I'm Caroline, and you are?
I'm Caroline as well. And today we're going to talk about what we're eating. So this is going to be a full-on food talk. We're going to talk about food and what we're eating and what we're drinking, and that's pretty much it, but that's a lot.
Because we love food. It's something we talk about a lot.
It's getting a feeling for what your body runs with. What fuel do I need to put in? And then not just the macronutrients like the carbohydrates, the proteins and the fats, but also the micronutrients.
Absolutely. So Caroline, what's your usual routine for breakfast? What do you have in the mornings for breakfast?
Well, actually I have two different routines for breakfast. One being if I'm at home, then I usually start with drinking. Well, like alcohol, I think.
Come on, tell the truth.
Well, I usually start the morning with drinking. It's the first thing I do. Gin and tonic. No, I have my own powder that I mix with lots of fibers in it and nutrients. There's some chlorella and zeolite and MSM and all kinds of good things that I know I might not have during the day. So I mix them.
So there's quite a lot of things that people haven't heard of before what you said, and then we can explain later on what that all is.
Maybe that would be a good idea. Yeah. So most important, I think, is I get my intestinal tract going with the fibers, and it actually helps a lot. So I have my little shake, and sometimes I put a little omega-3 oil in, like linseed oil, if I remember it, because it's in a separate bottle. So this I have in the morning, and then when I start to get really hungry, if I don't have to go out, then I can have breakfast a little bit later, and that would usually be a lot of fat, like butter, cheese.
Big butter fan.
Big butter fan. I live on butter. Like I feel my body is living on butter as a fuel, or oil or fats as a fuel. I think I can work perfectly on fats only. But every body type is different. So that's important to know what your primary source of fuel is. Like if you were a car and you need diesel or gas, so you need to know what you need to put in the tank. So then I have maybe some bread with butter and cheese on it, and some herbs, which I have little herbs in the flower pot, or if I don't have herbs that are fresh, then I always have some in the freezer. And that's basically it. And if I happen to not have bread anymore, then sometimes I do porridge with water, and then I put lots of butter in there. So anything with lots of butter. And if I'm not at home, I'm traveling, I'm in a hotel or something, then usually I also have eggs. I'm usually too lazy to do eggs in the morning. So, but if I'm somewhere we can order omelette or eggs. I love omelettes or poached eggs or whatever they have, scrambled eggs. Then I would mix my butter with the eggs and have that.
Sneak it in.
I'm actually just eating eggs, but there's a ton of butter.
She's actually got like a little handbag that's a cool box, and she always just carries a block of butter with her around wherever she goes.
Like,
Not really.
It might get there sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of bread, but not too much.
Your breakfast is very fat rich.
Yeah,
we can say it like that. Very
totally.
fat rich, and then you've got some carbohydrates in there as well.
Yeah, some not too much, because I figured if I have too much carbohydrates, like only the bread or only the porridge or only carbohydrates, like if I would eat fruit in the morning, I would be dead all day.
Okay.
I just get a sugar spike.
Okay.
And
even though it's fruit sugar, so it's not like your processed refined sugar. Even with fruit sugar, you're very sensitive. So that's also something that's quite important. There's not many people that realise they can also be very sensitive to even fruit sugars that are present in what they eat, and that can play with your moods and your energy levels and your insulin production.
Fully. And even bread. I mean, bread is mostly carbohydrates as well. And if your stomach is empty, it's like fully hungry, and it will rip this bread apart in like seconds, and then it's just sugar at some point. So it depends how short chained the sugar is, of course, and fructose is pretty short chained because it's sweet of taste. And so the more sugar I take in, the more I feel it, and then I'll just be hungry all morning, just really being low on sugar. You just see me and think, give that person some sugar. This person is having a low sugar level, which is actually true, but giving me more sugar would absolutely not help it. I would have to sit it out. I just have to wait until it's over.
Okay. What was the changing point for you? What made you realise, or what did you feel to say, I think something has to be different now?
Well, the first was that I started to feel normal every day after lunch.
Okay.
That was the moment where I would actually feel like I had energy. And so I didn't realize it then already, but it already made me think, like, why do I feel so much better after a lunch that is a bit more balanced? Usually you have more fats and more proteins than in a breakfast. And that started to make me think. And then I got a bit into nutrition, and especially I studied the works of Dr. Price, the Weston Price Foundation. They talk a lot about oils and fats and what oils and fats are good for you and which are not. And they opened my eyes about these margarine and vegetable oils. There's a great YouTube video about the oiling of America, which you all have to see. And I think that was the turning point. And you see it, you understand it straight away, and you go, holy
moly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I went a little bit against conventional like the food paradigms, the conventional way of eating, and started to inverse the food pyramid and actually cut the carbohydrates and increased the oils a lot, making sure it's good oils like coconut, butter, palm oil. Sometimes though, the rainforests get cut down because of the palms. And but I mean, butter and coconut oil is all fine, and it works perfectly for me. Yeah, so it was out of the lectures of the Weston Price Foundation, basically, that got me started. Yeah.
And awareness of your body.
Oh yeah.
Trial and error, and noticing your energy levels in the morning. How it really impacted your energy, and I think you said you were a bit foggy as well in the mornings. You weren't clear.
It's like really like it's. Have you ever had like a sugar rush, and then the sugar level drops, and you feel like you could just lay down or eat? and that's how I usually felt all morning. Not really headache, but just like I'm unusable. I felt like it's such a
dysfunctional.
It was taking so much energy to just move and to think, and had a whole impact on my school life as well, and classes, like the afternoon classes after 12 o'clock, they would be terrible because you get home really late for lunch in Germany, like 2 o'clock, which I think is late. And
It is.
so that was terrible.
Okay.
I had a friend at school. She would have these bread rolls with Nutella, and she would share those. She would have like 10 of them.
Oh, that's sweet.
And she would give them out to everyone.
Mother Teresa, aka Nutella Queen.
And usually I'd have one. I was. My mom didn't know. Now she does.
So you needed it to pick you up.
Yes, but it didn't work for very long. But luckily, then I would have lunch. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the home routine for breakfast. That's the fluid.
And you said when you're traveling, then what do you do when you have to be in hotels, etc.? What's your regime then?
So actually, I take my powders with me. I always travel with my powders. Otherwise, this isn't working.
Thank you. So I think we enlightened some people on some information, and certainly on some alternatives. Let's just say some alternatives for breakfast. I mean, yeah.
I do not believe in cholesterol. I do not believe that cholesterol is bad for you. And that was actually also something that...
It's true, there is good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. Not many people know that either.
Yeah, well, even that's also something that I learned from your cholesterol levels depend a lot on on your physical exposure, for example, to stress. They made an experiment on students. Some had very high cholesterol levels just before an exam, and then the same individual would have normal cholesterol levels when there were no exams and obviously no stress. So the cholesterol is like the fireman trying to put out the fire. And the fire is usually damage in your tissue, like damage in your vascular system. And the cholesterol is like the tape or the repairing the small tears. Like the bandage, And so a high level of cholesterol is actually a sign that there's some tear and some damage happening in your system.
Something's out of balance. Isn't it wonderful again how the body
regulates
all the time, but sends you signals, sends you basically warning signals to let you know when there's something out of homeostasis, something's out of balance, and we have to come back to that.
Listening to
listening to yourself and seeing the signs and feeling the signs before it's too late. Before it's like, oh well, that's normal. I have that all the time. It never really bothered me until you're like, oh, I didn't. No.
And cholesterol also is, like fats in general, a precursor for hormones. Wasn't it you telling me that there were some people who were treated from depression with
omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil capsules? Yes. There is there's actually a book written by the medical journalist Andreas Joop, Joop. His books are also, he's written so many books, also translated not just from German into English, into a lot of languages. So you can really, there's one called the Fat Revolution.
Totally on it.
Yeah. Onto it. And he's written a book on proteins, minerals, what happens with vitamin deficiency, what do you do if you want to give up smoking, etc., etc. He's totally onto it. And he's the kind of journalist, he doesn't, he reads loads of, he researches lots of facts first and then decides what he wants to write on. And lots of others do it the other way around.
I mean, most people get intimidated because it's so much biochemistry. But
he's not. But he writes it in a way that even I could understand. But he writes it in a way that.
You studied environmental toxicology.
I did. But still, when it gets too much jargon, too much special language, then it might as well speak Japanese.
It needs to be palpable.
Yeah, exactly. And he definitely writes in a way that everybody can digest. It's good.
Wow. Yeah, I think fats are underestimated. And if you think about drugs that lower your cholesterol level, just from these two bits of information that I have, that cholesterol is a precursor of hormonal production and that it actually repairs tissue, then it's actually terrifying to wanting to lower your cholesterol level.
Yes.
Anyhow, I'm not a doctor, and I guess there is circumstances where that might be necessary, and as you said, there might be good and there might be bad cholesterol, but it's also worth giving cholesterol another chance, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the body, as far as I understand, because I
Is it still running?
Yeah, I had like a checkup, and there was something about the cholesterol levels, and it was like a blood analysis, and then she was like, "You've got this cholesterol. Oh, it's really."
Oh.
There was 2 cholesterols, and she
Yeah.
said, "Oh, but this cholesterol."
LDH and something.
Yeah, and she said, "Oh, but this cholesterol is really high." And they actually, the body produces one to counteract the other, and if that one is higher than the other, then everything's good. And I'm like, wow, how many people know that there are 2 different kinds of cholesterol? The body produces them,
And then it's actually fully okay.
fully
even though
okay.
both
One
are-
balances out as long as the ratio
Interesting.
is in the correct ratio. Then everything's good.
Interesting.
It is. It's fascinating.
So now I did my whole food strip, and you know everything I eat for breakfast.
She got
at least.
naked and everything.
Food-wise.
Lucky me.
So what do you do? What do you do for breakfast?
What is my breakfast routine?
What do you do?
Well, in the mornings, I like to get up as late as possible. Like,
Oh, what does it mean?
like 6:30. I cook.
That's late.
That's late for me.
Oh my god.
6:30.
That would be super early for me.
To get the kids ready. I have to get the kids ready for school, etc. Get myself ready, get my packed lunch for the kids ready. And I generally don't have breakfast in the morning. I start with a cup of warm water.
All right.
So I boil water and then I will pour it in a cup with some cold water on top so I can drink it so it's the right temperature. And this is a really nice rehydration routine for me in the mornings. Sometimes with a bit of lemon juice, sometimes not.
And a cup would be
A
like
teacup, a mug.
okay.
Could even be that size. If I'm feeling
Okay.
thirsty,
So
it will even be that
it's
size.
a substantial amount of
Yes,
water.
Just
Okay.
to replenish my body. And then I will make myself a smoothie. I've got a blender. So I add cold water to the smoothie, and then I've got a triple protein shake. So I'm really bumping up my protein levels in the morning.
You do protein in the morning.
Yes, but it's a
Okay.
powder.
Mm-hmm.
And I also add another powder which has like 80 something incredible, like 81 different lots of herbs, dried fruits. It's got trace elements. It's got selenium, copper, etc. It's got psyllium husks. It's got
Same? Okay.
probiotics.
Funny.
So I'm really, and then I add sometimes, if I feel like it, then some coffee, some cold coffee, and then some ice cubes.
Oh really?
Or I use my chocolate triple protein
You put
protein
cold
shake.
coffee in there.
Yeah, and then some ice cubes. So I
Ooh.
really have a beautiful drink in the morning, and this is my breakfast.
But no
'Cause
fats.
Well, I then take some extra supplements, and I take fish oil capsules, and I take evening primrose oil, and I take some MSM and some joint formula.
But you don't put that on the smoothie.
No, yeah, definitely a smoothie. Then I take I'm drinking my liquid breakfast, and I'm taking my little handful of supplements as well.
do linseed oil. Sometimes I put that in my shake. I don't smoothie it.
Yeah.
I just shake it.
Yeah.
But we do kind of have the same. But so it's basically protein, minerals, vitamins, and lots of fluids.
Liquid, yes.
A bit of caffeine.
Sometimes a bit of coffee. Yeah, I even have something which
I
is...
do have coffee in the morning too, of course.
Yeah, I have something else which is also a powder. It's something that's called Real Energy, and that's like guarana, caffeine, ginseng, but like a citrusy bing. I also sometimes add to my shake. And this is my breakfast. This keeps me going. You know, if I'm then going to a studio to give like 3 classes back to back, 3 hours back to back.
She's a fitness trainer, as you can see.
and that would actually literally keep me going from 8 o'clock in the morning until I'm back at 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Wow.
It keeps me going. And I will have an apple. I always take an apple with me, always an apple in my rucksack. So, you know, when I'm sitting on the train to come home again, I'll be like, I could just do with a little. And then I'll come home and have
And
my
no
lunch.
So you do have some fats, but
Yes.
I reckon it's not like my amount of butter I'm taking. It's a very much smaller amount of.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And is that? I mean, I guess to me it's out of convenience and just the necessity of getting a lot of nutrients that I might not get during the day because sometimes
I really flood my system with
is
it in the
that
morning.
the reason why you're doing that too? That you have
I don't
this...
have the time to sit and have a relaxed, because I think it's important to have a relaxed meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch or dinner, to be able to just sit and enjoy. And I think half
really
an hour.
chew
And I don't have that in the morning, and so I have my liquid breakfast, and it keeps me going. And I know with what I'm drinking in the morning, it absolutely sorts me out with everything I need. And I have a very active week. I'm giving classes, a lot of classes every day, and
sometimes
I'm not getting any younger. And also in the evenings, in the morning and the evenings, and I've got my family to take care of and everything to do with household, and it keeps me going. It's quite amazing how you feel that it's good for you, and I really feel that I need it. And I benefit from it, and I feel good. I mean, I still go to bed pooped in the evening, but I feel good. My knees are still going, my shoulders are still going, my body's still functioning, and I'm alert, I'm awake, and...
But you do have this... So how often do you need the apple that you have with you in your bag?
I would actually say I do eat an apple every day, because they're just gorgeous. I love apples.
Just for the fun of it.
Oh my God, no, apples are so... You know when you find the right apple? I swear to God. So, you told us what your breakfast regime is when you're at home or when you're on the road.
Yes.
So what do you do for lunch then, when you've got time to have a lovely lunch? What are your lunch plans?
Lunch is a bit more balanced, which means there's then I put all the veggies in. So usually I would have at the moment I do tons of soups, like something really liquid. So I would have whatever vegetables is in my fridge. Could be zucchini, fennel, broccoli, carrots, anything, sweet potato, normal potato, celery, whatever. I do tend to buy the same about range of
vegetables, the same selection.
Pick out of 15 vegetables, and then you'll find those in my fridge. I do like spinach and try to get greens in it, and then I just boil the veggies. And then I have a bit of a feel how much carbohydrates I need that day. So if I know that I have a very physical afternoon, or I had a very physical morning, or I have to work the brain a lot, the brain also consumes a lot of sugar, then I put a bit more carbohydrates in. It can be gnocchi or rice or even pasta. And then I add a little bit of either cheese, or I cut some sausages, or a little bit of meat. But I can also replace the meat with some chickpeas or some beans. It depends a bit. So that's mostly, so the base is always the veggies. That's the base. And then of course I add the oil, the coconut oil or butter, and then I have a little bit of a mix of carbohydrates and proteins. And this is usually, I'm really thinking about what's going on in my day and how much do I need.
Okay.
And that's it. And then usually I do have a little bit of sweet in after dinner, after lunch, because it's quite hard for me. I don't know if it is for you. Digestion takes a lot of energy.
Yes.
For
Makes
me.
you feel tired.
Yeah.
Good. So you were talking about a good friend of yours and dessert.
Yeah, so the reason why I feel not guilty at all having sugar after lunch, and it might be a spoon of honey, it might be chocolate, it might be, I don't do fruit because there's too much fibers, because I have all this fiber and then I just feel stuffed. And so it could even be a fruit juice, but usually it's some kind of very sweet anything.
So you said what, like chocolate?
Chocolate, cake, biscuit.
Okay. So after a meal, because you said you're very sensitive to sugar and you don't do sugar because, but after a meal, it doesn't play havoc with you because of what you've eaten beforehand.
Yes, because the fibers are kind of covering your stomach, so the fibers are kind of blocking the nutrients to get into your blood system too quickly. So the more fibers you eat, the less quickly you actually absorb the nutrients. So if you're having a very like a very processed meal, then there's no barrier of this being ripped apart and getting into your blood system. And digestion starts in the mouth. So if my stomach is full of fats and fibers, then I realize I can basically eat anything. And it has very little impact on my sugar level.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, well, I can.
Everybody's different though. Yes.
And the sugar, so this very good friend of mine, he was actually a teacher of mine, taught me that fat burns in the fire of sugar. Fat burns in the fire of sugar, which means that burning fat for the body is very energy consuming. You need a lot of energy, this whole Krebs cycle, to get the glycogen out of the fatty acids. If you have a look into that, it's very complex and takes a lot of energy from the body. And you somehow need something to catalyze this reaction, and it's the sugar.
Okay. That kind of makes sense, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just the energy of which we run, and HTP, CP, of course, adenosine triphosphate and creatine phosphate. And so in order to make use of the fats and the energy that I'm eating for lunch, especially, I need to have this sugar to keep my system running. Otherwise, I would just go hibernate and leave my belly to do the job, and the rest of the system is just dead. So I need to kind of refuel the rest of the system with sugar so that it can do the work. Yeah.
All right.
That it's.
And what about because you said you're having a soup phase at the moment, and what when you're not having soup? What are
well, if I don't
alternatives?
have the soup phase, then I usually have the oven phase, and the oven. And the oven phase is basically the same. I put the veggies in the oven. You cut it in pieces. So the boil phase is maybe out of, I don't know, it's just phases. And I like the oven phase. It's very nice.
But focus vegetables.
Always the veggies first.
Large vegetable intake.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So that is, so the base is always the veggies, and then the rest comes on top. So veggies and fats, and then so it's always the same. I don't really. It might not sound very delicious, so I'm actually not reasoning when I'm cooking about taste and combining. I reason by components. Like, I focus on the veggies, I get the veggies first, and then I reason by the amounts of carbohydrates and proteins that I need, and I just put that in, and that just gives something.
And the amount of carbs will vary depending on your day. It's what you said before, depending on how stressful, or okay, I'm gonna have a stressful day, so I'm gonna need a bit more fuel in terms of carbs in my body right now to help me.
And if I'm just sitting in the office all day and I know I will not have a lot of physical activity, then I'm also going low on the carbohydrates.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And it can be different every day. Yeah. So what do you do for lunch?
Well, lunch is very different. It depends if my kids are here or if my kids are not here.
Oh.
So if my kids are here, then I'm cooking a lunch that's friendly for my kids. So
kids friendly.
Kids friendly. So
how old are your kids?
They're going to be 16 and just turned 14, and then the other one's going to be 16.
Puberty.
And it can vary from salad to guacamole with mozzarella tomato, with fresh bread, pancakes. My kids love pancakes, but I'm a real fan of savoury pancakes. So I will make pancakes where I put salad in and cheese and hummus and yogurt.
Salad in the pancake?
Yeah. I cook the pancake, and then it's like a cup. Like you would call it a cup. And I
Like
just
a
fold it in half.
calzone, like a pizza.
Yes, but it's a
Oh,
pancake. Yes, and I
wow.
discovered that when I was in Australia. It's beautiful. So with yogurt.
She
and
was traveling
hummus.
Australia for
I traveled
years.
a lot of places. Not that many. Could be more. So I'm not such a sugar fan. I have to
Also
say.
not. Mm-hmm.
Well, it comes in. I suppose it's like you, really. It sort of comes in phases. I can't just like, for example, I cannot. I do laugh like in the morning when it's the weekend and we have our breakfast together. And if I look at what I have to say, my husband and my son will probably 9 out of 10 times go and get jam or something sweet to put on the bread. Well, I will definitely get cheese and tomato, or I will cook up eggs because I find that, that's the thing. When your focus is on sugary things, when we're so used to having sugary things, whether it's for breakfast or lunch or maybe even sometimes
you
dinner.
get into that
But
machinery.
it really plays, like you said, with your insulin levels. It's a quick high and boom, it just throws
And
you
a
back
quick
down.
low.
Yeah, and then you're just
like a
hungry
drug,
again.
really.
Yes, it is a drug.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah.
And it really plays havoc with your insulin levels, with your mood swings, and you need something that keeps your energy levels constant. And I find for me personally, when I'm having a protein-rich and also a fat-rich diet, the energy levels stay constant, and it's really a good way to keep your mood constant, keep your energy levels constant. It's a much healthier approach to meals.
And how did you come to figure that out for you?
I find that as I get older, the body's changing, metabolism changes, and the food groups or the foods that I used to eat earlier, I don't eat, I don't enjoy, I don't digest as well or break down as well as I used to. And I'm just noticing I need more lighter foods, I need more high protein, actually probably high fat, but not for breakfast.
So what's a lighter food for you?
So more vegetables,
salads,
more salads.
fiber
I love
rich.
salads. Yes.
Light would be fiber rich.
Yes, fiber rich. I absolutely love that. But I mean, I have to say, I'm a bit of, I can be a bit of a bread junkie. I'm looking at my bread basket going. I love
what's over
bread.
there? It's a baguette
I'm a big
She's
bread
looking
junkie.
at the baguette.
And fresh bread with butter. And sometimes I love to get tahini.
Oh, that
Tahini
sesame
paste,
yo.
sesame mousse, and then honey. Oh my god, it's so lovely.
Bread, tahini paste, and honey.
Butter, tahini.
Oh my god, I have to try that.
Yeah, just so that
would be dessert for me.
I mean, I like to naughty eat all the time. I buy these things when I work in a kindergarten once a week, and then I always buy these apple filled pastries, and I buy 4 thinking there's one for each of my family, but I swear to God by the end of the day I have eaten all 4 myself, and I'm like, oh no, there's not enough for any of them. And I have literally woofed the whole lot down myself because I love sweet. I can be a bit of a sweet junkie, but
So that would be in the afternoon then, when you have like a stressful day.
After my shake in the morning, I come home bloody starvingly hungry.
Okay, so you do get hungry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, everyone gets hungry. And but what I want to say is that's once a week. That is not a daily routine. And that's something that we all need to be aware of. Those habits for like maybe that we had before that we did daily doesn't work anymore. Not for me as I get older. I cannot get away with that anymore.
The sweets every day, that wouldn't work.
Not at all. I'm not just like bombarding myself with bread every day. Also, it feels heavy. I get bloated and I feel my energy levels go down, and you just have to be aware of this and just realize what it is. And you can correct that easily by just one meal or one day of just like, okay, now I bump myself up with loads of green and fresh stuff, because all that green and fresh stuff is high vibration food. It's fresh. It's got all this energy.
And what do you mean with high vibration?
So high vibration foods are foods that, for example, if you grow your own herbs, or you got your little garden where you grow your own tomatoes or lettuce or zucchini.
In my own garden.
In your own garden, or you can even on a balcony.
Which I don't have. Do you have your own garden?
Yeah. But some of that has. When you've picked your own food, when basically it's absorbed the energy of the sun, and then you've picked it, and then you put it in your meal and you eat it, that's high vibration. It doesn't get higher than that.
You mean it's picked ripe? Is that what you mean?
Fresh and ripe. Fresh food, fresh. So nothing that's processed, nothing that's nothing processed, fresh food.
So it's basically
This is high
alive
vibration,
rather
alive.
than dead.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, did you know that fresh fruit and veggies, when we have this taste of freshness, it actually contains a lot of hydrogen peroxide, H2O2.
Okay.
That
I
is,
didn't know that.
and that is.
Bleaching you.
No, I mean in small amounts. Bacteria produce hydrogen peroxide in our bodies, and it's very healthy because it oxidizes bad cells. They could be bacteria or viruses. It attacks the shells and oxidizes it. So it's a very good component that we need to fuel our bodies. So H2O2.
You feel good, don't you?
And it's the oxygen. It's like we're eating oxygen. Maybe that's what you relate to when you say high vibration.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you also hear, you hear that from people who, go, who, resort to a more fresh diet. So again, coming away from processed foods, focusing more on vegetables, fresh vegetables, lots of greens, etc., and saying, "Wow, I feel amazing, and that tastes so awesome." They have so much more energy.
Rather than the bread and the processed food. I mean, I like pasta, though I cut down a lot on pasta.
I mean, one tip I often give to people, because I also work a lot with nutrition and personal training and advising people
Nice.
on a nutritional level, is when you do buy foods, I mean, my God, we all have to buy sometimes stuff from the supermarket. When you look at the ingredients, try to find products that have 5 ingredients or less. Because then you're getting something that's pretty much as natural as it's going to be. Because when it's more than that, then just put it down.
I heard the advice, buy the products that when you read the ingredients, your grandma would understand. If it says anything that sounds like a chemistry lab, maybe don't buy it. They made an experiment with some granola bars or something, and they would just leave it.
What's granola?
Granola is like muesli bars.
Oh, okay.
And they would just leave it outside for the ants to eat. But
Ants wouldn't touch it.
No, they wouldn't touch it.
Funny that.
And that was really scaring me. Like when I sometimes, when there's cheap chocolate, it tastes like, ooh, this is not really food. It's sweet, and there's you feel there's some cocoa butter in it maybe, but it's not real food.
Okay, Caroline. So we're continuing with now you telling me.
Oh
the
my God.
world. What do you do for dinner? What do you do for dinner then?
Truth or dare? What's dare?
Tell me the truth.
All right, I'll tell you the truth. I don't dare. Well, maybe starting with the snacks first, between lunch and dinner. And I do actually usually get hungry around 5 o'clock, and then I usually eat something very sweet. And I got that from the time when I was living in France, and they have something like the goûter, which is like the...
But that's interesting that you can eat something sweet.
I know.
And okay, how do you eat this sweet thing?
It's just plain sweet. Like,
as in chocolate?
As in chocolate,
really?
Biscuit, cookie. Could be a spoon of honey. Could be I got into peanut butter lately. Could be ice cream. Could be, in the summer it's usually ice cream.
So this is something you have before dinner?
Yeah, this is like
prep.
It's like
prep yourself.
Because there's kind of a long time between lunch and dinner.
So this kind of doesn't make sense.
No, and usually really at 5 o'clock, and I know I still have stuff going on after 5 before I have time to settle down. I usually have lunch when the day is gone, like not gone but over, and not have dinner while the day is still busy. So it's like kind of the last effort I do is the dinner. So I know if it's 5 o'clock and I'm hungry, it's gonna be a long 3 hours till I get to eat something proper. And I found that if I then eat something sweet at 5 o'clock, and it doesn't need to be much, then I'm fine again. And it's a very nice feeling of feeling sustained, but I don't get the same sugar rush. And this is having to do with the hormonal balance in the system. Because in the morning, usually our body gets an adrenaline spike. We wake up, adrenaline is coming, the light is getting into our eyes, and this is doing something with the whole hormonal system of the body. So our bodies would anyways release sugar into our blood system. What our body doesn't do naturally in the afternoon, because then light goes down and the blue light goes out if you're not staring into a screen all the time. And so your body processes additional carbohydrates coming in differently in the afternoon than in the morning. At least my body does. So I'm totally fine. I could eat a full chocolate bar in the afternoon and be fine, which is really cool. Yeah, I can eat ice cream. Yeah, it's really cool.
And so you mean we can go for ice cream in a bit?
Oh.
You can have just one scoop. I'll have 3.
Best ice cream place in town. No veggies here. Yeah, and I learned that in France, where they, you know, there's this rule like don't snack. Like there's these religions, either people snack all the time and they do these micro eatings. And micro eat every 3 hours and only eat little, or they say don't snack at all. Like, I mean, it's not very healthy for your teeth to snack constantly. And but they have this goûter at 5 o'clock, and they usually have some sweet then. And it did do me a lot of good. I loved it. I always had my goûter, so I kept that when I was returning to Germany.
And that works well for you.
Totally. Yeah. If I don't have my goûter, you don't want to meet me.
Okay.
Where's my sugar?
Sometimes when I'm hungry, I have to say with chocolate, chocolate is like at night, naughtily, secretly in bed.
Oh my god.
When everyone is like, you know.
Like night, like when, like midnight?
Not midnight, but like 10 o'clock.
Wow. Oh my god.
It's not often, but it's like, and during the day, if I need
it's like the Betthupfer, we call it in Germany. It's like the little sweet to make you jump into bed.
And if I'm hungry in the day, then I'll eat an apple, or I'll have like some blueberries. When it's season, blueberries, local berries, or nuts. I've just got into macadamia nuts and pistachio nuts and
very oily.
Walnuts. I'm not such a fan of hazelnuts, I have to say.
When they're baked, I can tolerate them, but raw,
just doesn't do it for me. So nuts are good, and nuts are also, you know, if you've got like those little containers, you can. I always go around with a rucksack, so I've always got my water on me, always got tea with me, always got an apple.
She's always on a hike.
I'm always with my rucksack. And then sometimes I even have my nuts with me. So you're always prepared. And I think it's not actually a bad thing to be prepared like that, to always have water with you. It's so important to drink loads of water.
So you don't have cravings, and then you go home and you go
and eat rubbish.
Yeah,
which is just the worst thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah,
absolutely. And just be prepared. Like it's just getting into habits. And you know, my kids now, you know, they go to school. They take their tea with them to school. They take
that's nice.
Tea and. Layla takes fruit with her, sometimes she takes nuts, and it's good just to I mean, my God, they don't always want to be like Mummy and Daddy. They try to be as far away from Mummy and Daddy as possible sometimes. But if you know, you can just teach them give them some little tips that they can take with them into their future life, then it's good. It's good, you know. Did you not say dinner yet?
No.
You just said about your
I told you about your snack. So let me tell you about dinner now.
Yes.
Dinner can be the same as lunch again, very boring. Usually it's a leftover from lunch.
But that's brilliant tactics. Why not?
I know. So smart. I mean that's dinner usually. And again, I would then see how I'm doing and what's going to be going on the next day. Sometimes I feel like I need to add a little more fat, or I need to add a little bit more carbohydrates, but usually it's just left over from lunch. And it's usually warm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's also something I took home from France, because in Germany usually there's like a broadside where you just have bread
with
cold
things to have on it.
Yeah, and I actually do very well with the warm dinner.
It's comforting. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also digests better. I don't know. It just feels like you're putting the energy on top of the energy of the food. You're also putting the energy of the heat into your body.
Even actually staying with that theme, having a warm breakfast is ideal for people who have time and have breakfast in the morning. Have a warm breakfast. I remember when I travelled in.
I do toast the bread. That if I have my butter on toasted bread.
The same. When I travelled in Thailand, or where you travel in Southeast Asia, often you can have like a beautiful soup for breakfast with fresh coriander.
Oh my god.
That is the way to kickstart the day. In traditional Chinese medicine, they actually recommend
I love coriander.
Having a warm breakfast like a soup.
Yeah.
It absolutely not only nourishes, like me having my warm cup of water in the morning.
That's actually already really good.
Yeah, nourishes your body, and especially for people who suffer from cold hands and cold feet. If you are an individual that's try a warm breakfast in the morning, it could even be you can Google the beautiful easy Thai rice soup or any kind of soup and have that for breakfast in the morning. Just feel what happens to your body in the morning, and then
or just start with the boiled water and
or even just gonna have a cup of
I
warm
should
water.
try that. Do you do that in summer too? Is that for summer as winter as?
Yes, it's just instead of drinking a cold glass of water in the morning, it's warm. So it's not hot, because I don't like hot. It's a warm glass of water. It's not cold, it's not hot, it's warm. It's like I can go glug 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 glug.
So it kind of your body doesn't need to warm it up first. It does have body
doesn't need to use energy. Yeah, and this is also the thing that people don't realize when you drink cold. You know, I have to say my son is like always getting ice cubes and putting ice cubes in his drink, and unfortunately he's also his immune system struggles a bit. He's also someone he's ill more often than I'd like him to be, and that could be, you know, one of the reasons that he's actually putting a lot of strain on his immune system to, for example, heat up this really cold drink that he's
0 degrees water
that he's guzzling into, and his body has to use so much energy that it's then coming under stress.
I mean, it's the body basically needs to heat up from 0 to 36 degrees. That is that's a big range.
Yeah, that is.
It takes a lot of.
And there's a lot of people that think, oh, but it's warm and it's hot, and I need a cold drink in the summer. But actually, if you go to countries like Morocco and India, they're all drinking tea. They're all drinking tea.
Yeah.
Why would that be?
Yeah.
It actually has the effect of cooling you down more than a cold
Yeah,
drink.
especially mint tea. It has also the essential oils in the mint do something to. It's very refreshing. I don't really know what the essential oils in mint do, but they do something. If you know about it, do comment. Okay, so what are we talking about?
So I was talking about my evening meals, and the other thing I wanted to add is that I generally don't like to eat too late, because often is when we
what
eat.
is late to you?
Late is like after 8. That's too late, and sometimes it's really like 9:30, and I'm like going no way, because
8 is late already.
Yeah. And then 9:30 is ridiculous, but sometimes that is just the way it is, because
you work late.
My husband sometimes comes back. He's got a big project at work, and he comes late, or I come back late, and the evening meal is the only time actually in the day when we get to sit together as a family and eat together.
Okay, yeah.
But then it's heavy, no? That's then why it's even more important to have a light meal in the evenings, especially if it's that late, and not go to bed like.
Yeah, you don't need to find a balance between it needs to be sustaining you, but also not be too heavy.
Yes.
So do you then get up and in the morning and feel your stomach or have belly aches?
No, I don't have bellyache in the morning, but I do sometimes feel there's something travelling, and I'm like, oh my
travelling.
It's like there's a snake in there. You can actually feel it. It's quite hard. There's
tell me more.
There's movement down there. But yeah, I think it's when as much as possible to eat early in the evenings, and also for the evening meals not to be too heavy, to be light. The lunch is a really substantial good meal, and the evening meal doesn't have to be so, because it's only a few hours away from bedtime anyway.
Yes. And what do you think about this rule of no carbs after 6?
Yeah, I think why not?
Do you try to reduce
For
carbohydrates?
me,
in the
for
evening?
myself, yes, I wouldn't impose that on my husband or my kids. I mean, my husband, I think has maybe similar to you. He has a very high metabolism, and he needs.
You think I have a high
I
metabolism?
think you do. I think you do. And there were some things you said earlier. I thought, oh, that sounds a little bit like.
Oh, really?
Like it could be Chris,
Yeah.
you know. And
He's
my
also German, my husband.
and he really has an insanely high metabolism. I mean, he can just eat and eat and eat and eat,
Oh
and
my God.
he's losing weight.
Really?
I just have to look at something like,
There's a lot of people who are going to be jealous.
But like, everybody's different.
Yes,
Everyone's
totally.
different,
And
so,
I think it's,
yeah.
sometimes it's not the metabolism, it's finding the right food for you.
Yes.
And there's no one correct food for you, as I need other breakfast than you do, and sometimes maybe over the day we might eat the same thing, but the timing is totally different. Like, you don't really need fat in the morning, whereas if I don't have fat in the morning, I'll cook. And then so it's getting a feeling for what your body runs with. What fuel do I need to put in? And then not just the macronutrients, like the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats, but also the micronutrients.
Absolutely.
And
you really also have to look at it at the cellular level. I mean, all these
oh yeah,
all these
show me the cells.
trace elements and vitamins and nutrients that we need at the cellular, they're super important.
Yeah.
And for me personally, don't believe I get them all, even though I buy organic, even though I eat a lot of fresh vegetables and fruit, but not all the time. I don't manage it every day, let me just say that. There are days when I just have bread.
There are days where you eat bread.
Maybe not like day after day after day, but I mean a day where I
fine.
just don't get round to cooking. There's just too much going on.
Like
too
bread,
many
bread.
slap something on top. There's just too many appointments, too much going on. I don't have the time to I love cooking, but I need the time to cook. To cook something. Oh, you can cook something quick, you know, like pancake mix, and that's quick. And then done, boom. But
Dinner's ready.
to cook a good meal, you need a good half hour. I say you need a good half hour.
And you also need the time to eat it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just there are some days where I don't have that, and then it's bread day.
I think I do have the maybe one reason I do the carbs before 6 is I have the feeling that's the time where I can still metabolize them and digest them and burn them. And then in the evening it's more than, again, the veggies and the fats. And and I cut a little bit for dinner on the carbs.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, everyone's different. I think there's not a problem with not having carbs in the evening. And I don't think there's a problem with eating carbs on a day when you know you're more active, or you're going to be active work-wise, or I'm going to go and do some training today or whatever. Then definitely have carbs. Why not? Your body will burn it all off.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what do you do if you have cravings? Like, what would be a healthy snack for you?
Nuts.
Just nuts, or raisins, or dried fruits, or just plain nuts?
I mean, it depends what dried fruits you like. I'm not such a dry. I tell you what I do: dates.
Oh yeah.
Dates, but not like those dried little pathetic-looking dates that you get in a bag, even from the beer. I like the big,
the fresh ones. They're super expensive.
Yeah, but you only need one. You need one. You're like, oh my God, it's enough. There is so much natural sugar in it. One is like, if you have two, it's like, okay, that was too much.
Oh my God, you're a date person. Okay.
But like I say, you can't have more than two. They are absolutely incredible. Raisins, I love raisins with nuts. I think that's a beautiful combination.
I like figs.
I like fresh figs. I don't like dried figs.
Yeah, I think figs are. They're just these little seeds
crunchy,
are they're really
crunchies.
interesting. They're just a super interesting fruit. Figs.
And nuts are awesome. You know me, apples. I love apples.
Okay.
And then berries.
Yeah.
Berries, like when it's berry season, I love berries.
I always have frozen berries in the fridge.
I love
in the freezer.
Fruit.
Yeah.
Smoothies.
Smoothies.
Frozen berries, yes.
Yeah.
But,
okay. Anything else you would like to share about food, or any secrets you can share?
I'll tell you what is really important, maybe we haven't mentioned. Everybody should move. Especially those individuals who have the...
like exercise.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be like if you have an office job and you drive to work and then you take the lift to your office and then sit at your desk all day and then might move to go get yourself some lunch and sit down to eat. If you have the option, get public transport to work, walk to work, cycle to work, get as much movement and fresh air in your day as possible. And if you've got office jobs, you need to be opening this up. You need to be finding ways to open that up. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's hanging from a tree upside down.
Doing down dog poses in the office.
Yeah. Get movement and fresh air. Drink lots of water.
Fluid. H2O and O2, very important.
Get a lot of water into you. And I mean still water, not carbonated, not fizzy drinks, not sugary drinks, still water, definitely. And I mean,
drink lots of fluids. That's like the main advice. Chew well. What's the rule of thumb? 35. Choose.
Yeah, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm also really rushed for time that I wolf my food down. I'm actually aware of it. Like, I didn't chew that.
Like bit stuck somewhere.
Yeah, you realise
drink a lot, so it gets there.
Like when we were eating today, I'd already was taking my second. And you were like, I was already on my second portion. I'm thinking, oh my god, I eat really. Sometimes I eat really.
We had
fast.
a great omelette.
We did.
Yeah.
I put avocado in the omelette.
With grated cheese on top of it.
Wow. Food is, I swear to God, I'm so grateful, we're so honoured, blessed that we can eat.
You just touched the microphone.
Did I touch? Oh shit. We're so blessed. Yeah, we are so spoiled. We can eat anything and everything whenever we want.
We should be more thankful.
We have no idea what it is to hunger or starve or anything. And I love food. And I'm really happy
we should be grateful. That's true.
I can eat all of it. And
so, main advice would be listen to your own body and experiment. I think it's also being open-minded and experimenting, and sometimes the opposite of what you believed you needed to do is true. Like the food pyramid, and that actually fats might be okay for you, and or not.
I also feel that something I'm going to say, which I think it's okay to say. I think if you're not hungry in the morning, it's okay
not to eat.
Yes, I think it's okay. Drink.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, you didn't eat, because I'm saying this because, for example, my daughter, she starts school, her lessons start at 20 to 8. And she
20 to 8.
She's sitting at her desk listening to the teacher. And it used to bother me that, oh my gosh, she's not eating, she can't go in the morning with her. But some mornings she just isn't hungry, and I totally connect with her. I give her something to take with her.
Yeah.
And it's all right, then just eat when you're hungry. If it's at 9 or 10 or 11, it doesn't matter. You're not going to die. Your body's fine. You know when you're hungry, you feel it, and eat when you're hungry. Yeah. But don't eat if you're not hungry. Yeah. This is why I drink a shake in the morning. I need it, but it's not chewing. Yeah. It's not sitting there and masticating and chewing something, but that comes later.
That's like in Ayurveda. Ayurveda?
Yeah.
Ayurveda?
Yeah.
They say that you need to have the digestive fire.
Yes.
They do a whole ceremony about eating, and they're lighting a candle, etc. But basically it's all about the fire burning for the digestion to be able to happen. So if you translate that into more scientific words, that would be the enzymes and the acidity of your stomach needs to be having the right composition, and also your feeling of being hungry needs to be there, because it's also a question of the space being available, and the machinery is ready to actually absorb. And I think the feeling of hunger is a lot this digestive fire burning. So if you kind of imagine a campfire that's burning, and you just the flame is almost going out, or the flame is really shallow, and you're putting just more wood on top of it. You're almost
choking,
smothering the
flame,
yes.
and there's not enough oxygen coming to it, and somehow that's how our digestive system works. We need to have the fire going and the flame going, and there needs to be a little sugar, a little oxygen, hunger, and then the fire will burn, and then we actually have the best absorption of the nutrients that we're eating, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I feel that a lot of people, I'm speaking for myself, eat when we're not necessarily hungry, and need to
sometimes it's a necessity because you have a break, or because you know you can't eat later, or you're having to teach and you can't just eat while you're teaching.
Or I mean, but there are people who also eat when they're not hungry, and then it's turning into a habit where it's then kind of becoming insatiable, and eating and not the body's I'm hungry, I'm satisfied now, I don't need to eat anymore mechanism stops working properly, and this is
so that's again linking to learning to read your own body. That's really important. When I'm hungry, what do I need now? I'm hungry, okay, but do I need sustenance? Do I need fluid? Sometimes hunger is just, I need liquid.
Exactly, that's an excellent point. Sometimes you can just satisfy that, am I hungry? Just drink a glass of water and see how you feel after 10 minutes. It could be that's all your body needed. It just needed some water.
Yeah. So when I fluid, and I just learned that from myself, I start to get really jumpy. It's actually my brain starting to, it's like an engine not running smooth anymore. And it's like, do you really have a hard time concentrating? It's starting to jump from one thought to the other. It's starting to get really stressful, a little bit of a headache. And I used to interpret that as a lack of sugar, because it had to do with the brain, and I just thought, my brain is running low on energy. But I just discovered that it's actually the liquid it was lacking.
So with me, when I realised, well, maybe it's then too late, when I realised I haven't drunk enough, I get really dry lips. Yeah. When I see that my lips are really dry, I'm like, uh-oh.
But then it's already far too late.
Did I
not way too late. All right. Any other tips you want to share, or secrets?
Well, I think drinking alkaline herb teas are good to try.
Alkaline herb tea.
Our bodies become over-acidified, too acidic.
Yes, that's a big problem.
Way. I mean, you can certainly Google and find out. We can do that in the next series about what foods are good to bring your acid-alkaline household in balance. There are beautiful teas you can drink. You can even buy bath salts and have a beautiful alkaline bath. Any reason.
Add some salts.
There are lots of, even actually, what's a great tip?
We're going to do another
juice.
one about
lemon juice in water.
Body care.
Lemon juice is actually bringing the acid down in your body. Even though you're thinking, what? It's lemon, it's acidic, it's actually alkaline. Fancy that.
Yeah, the pH level. The pH is not identical with acid or alkaline. Lemon juice is actually very alkaline.
So there you go, that's also a lovely way to start your day.
With lemon juice.
And warm water or hot water.
All right. That's all from us for now. You do know everything now about what we're eating. We would love your comments below about what makes you going for breakfast, what makes your day jumpstart, what do you need first thing in the morning? Is it more liquid? Is it coffee? Is it food? How do you think about fats in the morning? What's your lunch? What's your dinner? Just share it with this lovely community here. And thank you very much, Caroline.
You're welcome.
Thank you. With me.
Thank you.
Hey. Great. We're going to do a sequel, that's for sure.
Definitely.
It was so much fun.
Part 29 coming up.
So much fun. All right. Cool. See you. Bye.
Bye.